I'm going to do a control document. You can also go to document and go to insert, and there go to exactly what you want as graphs as well. Depends on how many buttons. Some people like to press buttons, some people like to have shortcuts. It's all on personal preference. But regardless of how you do that, control document, go to graphs, or go to document and insert and go to graphs. And this is our graph page. On the 84, you go to, what is it, y equals, and then you type it in. Okay, what we have here, we don't have y equals. This is functions, so we have f1 of x, f2 of x, and so forth. We can go up to f99 of x. You don't want to see one page with 99 graphs on it, but you could, within a document, have that many. And let's just do something real simple. Let's just do x. Simple old x, parent function of the linear. And when you type it in, nothing happens, press enter. Everyone get the graph? And again, since I can't see what you have, do help me out. If you have a question, raise your hand or ask someone who's with you. Now, a couple of things I'm going to show you are really, if I teach you this, if you teach your students these 2, 3 basic moves, they can do anything with any graph. So we're going to start with this one. The first thing is, you see that equation up there, f1 of x? Don't move yours, okay? Just watch what I'm going to do up here. If I take this and move it, notice how that moves with it. It gets very distracting to have that moving around. It's following the graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a grab and drag. Grab and drag. That's all we're going to do. So take your finger on the touchpad and move the cursor over to where it says label. And you see that hand? I tell the students, that hand is open. If I want to pick up something, and I can't do it until I do what? Close the hand. And so how do we close the hand? There's a couple ways we can do this. One way is, in the center of this touchpad, you see a little smaller square, and in there you see a closed hand. One way would be to do a control click. The other way is to click, press that inner one down, and I say count to 3. Either one of those is going to do it. So depress the center of the touchpad and count to 3, or do a control click on it. Now, if it doesn't work, if you didn't get the little hand to close and now you're trying to get the hand back and it doesn't, escape. And then move the cursor back to that. So if we come up here and we depress that center piece, the hand will close, and now you can move it anywhere. And if you move it away from the line, it has broken the gravitational pull, and now it will stay put. Okay, so we can move the label. Grab and drag. That's it. That's a very, very basic one. We use it a lot in graphing. We use it a lot in geometry. Grab and drag. Okay, so let's do some other grabbing and dragging. I want to show you the different ways the hand shows up. This is what's really different from the 84. You don't have the ability to do all of this. You have a transformation app that you can have on the 84, but you have to go into the app to get this done. This is all connected in here. So take your cursor and move it to where it says Graph F1. Do you recognize the symbol we have there? Rotation, absolutely. And I want you now to pretend that's an open hand. I want you to close it. And after you close it, just start moving it around. Now, one of the things that happens in using either the 84, any technology is, we have to be cognizant of the fact that we can have the students do something, they can enjoy it, they can engage in it, But when it's done, it's a, golly gee whiz, wasn't that fun? What'd you learn? I don't know, but we sure had fun. And so having the students to always be focusing where you want them to focus is our responsibility as teachers. So right now, if you wanted to focus the students' attention, what would you want them to focus on? The fact that they successfully moved that line, or that something else was happening as it moved? So what's the math of the fact that we can move this line? Yeah, that transformation, that as the line becomes steeper, steeper, actually, the absolute value of the slope becomes what? Larger and larger and larger. I say absolute value because we know that if we take that line and make it go negative, downhill, we also are getting that slope to be very, very negative. Okay? Now, we have to be aware that students might do this and say, oops, I made it vertical, and what would you do to prove that it wasn't vertical? We could check some points, okay? Pardon? Yeah, but you know, that doesn't really fly. They trust, they know it's right because you say it. I want them to know it's right because they see it. Zoom out or zoom in. Which one? Now, here's the second thing I want you to take away today. We know how to grab and drag, and we're not done with doing that, but we want to change the window settings. Where will I go to change the window settings? What's the first key you're going to press? Menu. Let's look at the menu on this. I promised it would change. There it is. It doesn't look anything at all like the menu for the calculator. We'll try and get as much of this done as we can, but for now, you would go to menu, and we have all of those we can do. Have the students change. I wouldn't do just a zoom in, an arbitrary zoom in. I always wanted the students to do some thinking behind it, and so I would have them do changing the window settings, and so we can change the window settings. Looks familiar with the 84? But how did we get to this? What was the first key that we pressed? Menu. Always go to menu first, okay? Menu is going to have everything. And I have even used menu to be a teaching tool. Okay, go to menu. What would you use to do this, this, and this? Have the students thinking and having them have a reason for pressing the key, because I want to change the window setting so I can alter the graph in some way. I don't think I need to tell you how to use the window here, but let me show you something else. Again, right now I want to show you two basic things. One is grab and drag. We've done that. The other one is how to change the text on the screen. So if you would, all eyes up here, I'm going to come over here to where it says text. Now what happens is I move the cursor to where it says text. What happened to that text? Can you see? Yeah, fades out, okay? Students know how to do this. You also do too. How many of you use PowerPoint? Photoshop. Have you ever changed the text of something in Photoshop or PowerPoint? Move your cursor, get it to fade. I want you to press enter twice. What happened to that text? Do you know the name we call it? It's just a text box, okay? It's just a text box. Same type of look that we have on PowerPoints and on Photoshop. It's a text box that now I can change the text on this. If I want to prove to the students that that line is not vertical, I want to bring the horizontal axis farther away or closer to 0. Closer. So I'm going to type, let's say, a -1. Being able to change the text and alter the information on the screen is really important as a learning tool in other things, not just on changing the window. Press enter, and there it is. How do you change the one over here? I'll let you do it on your own. Just remember it's, getting to fade. Enter twice. Get that window. And type a 1. Nothing happens, just like on the computer, nothing happens until you press enter. Is the line vertical? Okay, so we can get into a lot of discussion. I don't know where you are in your curriculum, but if you had a need to talk about, the slope of a line, or even just reinforce it, you can very easily pull this up, put the line up there, have the students do some work, and have them experience for themselves whether or not its slope is positive, negative, and correlate that with whether the line is going uphill or downhill. Okay, I'm going to move the line. Remember, we just move the cursor, get the rotational symbols. I want to put it back to something other than as large as it was. I want to maybe look at that. But now, what's another transformation we do with lines? Translations, yes. Are we translating horizontally or vertically? Yes. It's one of the two. Students can be confused about that, but we're going to help them out with this a little bit. Move the cursor somewhere near an intersection of it with an axis. We have a completely different cursor. Crosshairs. Okay, crosshairs. Now, treat it like the open hand. Depress that center until you get, and now what you're doing is translating it vertically. Students will declare that you're translating it horizontally also, but this is where our discussion with the students of what that constant term represents and so forth. So we have the open hand as a grab and drag, an open hand. We have the rotational symbols, we have the crosshairs. There's one more I need to show you.